All right, I think we are live now. So let's see how this works. Yeah, we got one person watching. That's me. So hey guys, thanks for joining us a little bit earlier on a Sunday. This is number two of this season, and I'm very excited to have my one of my dear friends, Paul Prater, on. I think this, and Soydon, you're gonna have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this ties Paul for the most appearances on this show with you, with Soydon. So now it's a contest. So uh, and also my friend Amy Jones from Arkansas, Little Rock, Arkansas, is joining us. We're going to talk a little bit today about the haunted Arkansas tours. Now, Paul, you've been doing this for how long?
Um, the COVID years, do those count? I don't know. Those are like lost
Right.
years,
Yeah.
but this is probably the eighth year, I think. That'd be about right.
All right, and Amy, tell us kind of, well, first, Amy, a lot of people that watch us know Paul. He's been on several times. Kind of give us a little bio. How did you get involved in this fiasco?
Well, hi guys. 5 years ago, I went. Okay, first off, I'm Amy Jones. I am, by degree, have a bachelor's degree in a Bachelor of Science in U.S. history, but a minor in Arkansas and Southern history. So my habit was to go on ghost tours and try to find out guys who made up stuff. And so
See,
all by myself.
I operate as that all ghost stories are made up. So that's
Yeah. So I wanted to know what was rooted in history as a Arkansas historian. So, and at this present time, I do work for the Department of Arkansas Heritage. So I went on the tour, did not know Paul, did not know anybody else in the group. And by the end of the tour, somebody looked at me and went, "You know something, don't you?" And I went, "Well, And so I got to talking to Paul, and I told him that I really appreciated that his stories were based on the Arkansas Gazette and based on a lot of facts. And he had told me that he got a lot from the History Commission. So I appreciated that. And then I think I kind of just started hanging around the tours. And then before the next year, I said, "Hey, I'd love to do this. I've given tours at museums before for 5 or 6 years. And I do love just telling the story of Arkansas. And as I tell people on the tour, these are ghost stories, yes, but they are truth, and truth can be weirder than fiction.
right, right.
So that is exactly what we have going on here. And so anyway, I've done it for about 5 years now. I think this is my fifth year. I did do it through COVID. That was a mess. We all wore big masks and microphones and stuff, but people still came out and we had a good time. And Paul, in the last few years, Paul has done a lot of the booze and brews, which is a different part. And then I've done a lot of the walking tours. So it's been just a lot of fun. We both have regular day jobs, but this is kind of what we do for fun. So
Right,
that's me.
right. Well, and this year I'm going to be doing the Booze and Brews tours, and so that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I went on a couple with you last year, Paul, and I'm spending a lot more time in Little Rock, and so Paul asked if I wanted to do them this year, and that's kind of something I've tried to do them here in Colorado, northern Colorado, and there hasn't been a lot of interest, so it was very exciting to get that opportunity to do it. So, Paul, tell us a little bit about the Booze and Brews tours that you've done, and kind of give a preview of what I'm gonna hop on here in the next couple weeks.
Sure. So the Booze and Brews focus on it's a ghost tour, but it's also a bar hop, a bar crawl. So we start with at the same location as the regular tours, but we also tell some different stories, some that are a little more, as I call it, the wild and lascivious side of Argenta.
Right.
Since it's obviously 21 and up, we can talk a little more about the prostitutes and the murders and the darker stuff without the worry of kids being there. But then our first stop's at a wine bar, and there I always did what I said was mental connection. So it's a way to connect with your audience and prepare them for our last stop, which has basically a small version of a seance in a location that's the most haunted place in Argenta. So those are always a lot of fun because you get some entertainment aside from just stories, which are of course entertaining in and of themselves. But get a little performance with it too.
Well, yeah, the number one, I helped out a great deal on some ghost tours, writing some ghost tours and putting some ghost tours together in the French Quarter of New Orleans several years ago. And the number one complaint for most ghost tours is you don't see a ghost. Well, on the Booze and Brews, we can guarantee you will have a paranormal experience. Something will happen. You will have a connection, and it starts pretty much from the get go. The way I'm going to have the tour is every person on the tour is going to have some sort of item that when they walk through the tour that will measure ghosts. We're gonna have pendulums. I've got 5 of the EMF readers. So we're gonna measure the paranormal activity throughout the tour. And as we go into some of the more haunted places and look at some relics, I've done a lot of research over this in the last several months, and I've accumulated some relics that are from the time that may or may not have a connection to them. So we're gonna use those, and I'm really looking forward to it. It's something that the viewers know that this is what I've been doing for several years. So we'll start with you, Paul. Paul wrote the book. I mean, literally wrote the book on Haunted Argenta, and you can get these. Are these available on the website?
They're available on the tours. I think they're available on the website too. I should know the answer to that.
Yeah, well, if not, they will be. They will be, and we'll have them available on the tours as well. And I'll get Paul to sign a stack of them before we do it, so that there's no confusion that I am not the Paul that wrote this.
They can actually. There's a pre-purchase where they can buy them as an add-on with the ticket.
Oh, good. Okay,
and then
cool.
They're there.
Yeah, and tickets. We'll plug this several times throughout the show. Tickets are available on HauntedArkansasTours.com. We checked it this morning, and they're selling fairly well. They're selling, and shows, and these tours will sell out. I mean, I think Amy will attest to that these tours do sell out. So the Booze and Brews are going to be Wednesdays and Thursdays through October. And Amy, what nights are your tours?
Well, we are scheduled right now for Monday through Saturday. And I just want to say something about the sellout. The sellout for us is a maximum of 25. So when you say they'll sell out, they really will quickly. Yeah. So if you have a group and you'd like to do it as like a employee get together or something like that, get a hold of us as soon as you can and let us know a number. And we might even be able to get you a special time for your particular group. And so just let us know and we can work that out however you need. But yes, sell out, they really do. And it's just hard to maneuver more than 25 people walking down the street.
Right. And the private tours are actually, I think, more beneficial for folks because they get to do it with people that they know, and it's a lot more comfortable and a lot more fun. And frankly, as a performer, I think Paul will test this, and so will you, Amy. You like doing those private tours because they're a little bit more fun, a little bit more intimate. You're allowed to kind of push some limits and with a group that's familiar with each other. So, all right, Paul, you're up first. What is your favorite ghost story of the Argenta or North Little Rock area?
So one of my favorites, this goes back quite a ways. There was a story I came across in the newspaper. So this isn't something, just oral tradition passed down. Well, it may have been until it was put in the newspaper, but that there was a werewolf in an area just north of Argenta. Now, for those of you listening who aren't familiar with that area, which is probably a good number of you, it was called the Werewolf of Cherry Hill, and Cherry Hill, obviously by the name, was a hill. And down below, it was really low-lying, kind of swampy land in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And obviously, it was a dangerous place. There was quicksand down there. Lots of people died in those swamps. And so there's always this question was the story real, or was it to scare kids? So the story is that multiple people claim to have seen this long, shaggy-haired, human-ish looking thing that would sometimes walk on all fours and sometimes on the back legs going down Cherry Hill into those swamps. But one of the fun things along with that story is I started researching that story. I started finding stories about some murders that happened. And there were 3 of them that looked like they were probably committed by the same person, tied together. And I presented that to the History Commission. That's the first time they had heard that, but they said, yeah, this looks entirely plausible. You may have found a serial killer in Argenta in the old days. And I just wonder if perhaps that was the werewolf of Cherry Hill. Maybe there really was something that was pretty horrible out there, but it might not have been a werewolf. That's one of my favorite stories.
And Amy,
I have something to add to that.
Please.
I live not far from Cherry Hill right now. We call it Park Hill, still the same hill. And on people's Ring cameras, they have caught bears. So who knows? It could have been a bear.
True. True. Well, Paul, I think I need to throw a question at you. Tell people some about your background and why you're taking over Booze and Brews.
Well, I think more importantly is the booze part. I I yeah, I'm a all things spooky and bizarre aficionado. I have a pretty ridiculous collection of haunted artifacts. I also have a degree in history. I went to grad school to be a history professor, and I love telling stories. I'm a storyteller. I'm a performer. My show, The Mystery Collection, as most people are watching know. Yeah, I love telling the stories. I have the artifacts. And like I said, I've collected over. I've spent the last several months collecting different stories from or objects from the time period around Little Rock. Actually, yesterday I got one of Carrie Nation's axes. I got one of the little pins. I've got a book. I've got her autobiography signed by Carrie Nation. I've got a deck of cards that has been sitting at one of the bars for about 2 months in hopes it's a time era specific, I guess you'd say, from the late mid 20s. So I'm hoping that it absorbs some of the energies. And so, yeah, I'm a ghost aficionado, I guess. Is that the right way to say it? So yeah, so I think that helps. I'm a storyteller. So Amy, you mentioned earlier you have your other job. How does your other job, your day job, how does that help with what you're doing, and how's what you're doing with Haunted Arkansas Tours help with your day job?
Well, I've worked for the Department of Arkansas Heritage in several different capacities in a lot of the Arkansas museums. But right now, I am the director of what we call capital zoning of Little Rock, and it is It's a state department, and what it does is we preserve historical homes and residences and streets and parks around the Arkansas State Capitol and in what we call the Mansion area, which is where the governor's mansion is. So I deal with homes from the 1800s all the time, and they have if they want to change anything, they have to ask, they have to get a permit. And so I have right now I have a staff of four others than me, and we are doing great. And I just love to preserve Arkansas history in any way I can. And this way, these are actually functioning neighborhoods, but they're also, living artifacts of Arkansas. And so it's great to know the stories of who built these, and a lot of cotton businessmen built these. A lot of cotton was sold in Arkansas. And so there's the stories of who built these houses are amazing, and how they formed the government and the seat of Little Rock. So I deal with it every day, all the time. I love to tell stories too. But I want to say about both of y'all, if nobody's ever seen you two perform, it's amazing.
Oh, thank
And
you.
I'm your super fan. I would come to every show if I possibly could. And because it is just amazing the show that you two put on together. And I kind of feel like I'm the historian. I like to tell the story, but you guys are the entertainers, and you entertain so well.
Oh, thank you.
So, but it's amazing to me the people that come to Argenta who have lived in North Little Rock their whole life and go, I didn't know that. I never thought of that. And, you got to open your eyes, because history is everywhere if you know how to look for it. It could be in the gable of a house, or it could be in the sidewalk, or it could be in why does that building look the way that building looks. And in since I'm into architectural history too, I do like to point a lot of that out on the tour going down Main Street in North Little Rock. So we have a lot of fun with that.
Well, let me make sure that I say this: that the opinions expressed are mine and mine alone on this. Not representative of either of my guests or any of the areas they represent. I think you've got an advantage to doing stuff around the Capitol and the governor's mansion, because I believe there is a real ghoul in the governor's mansion right now in Arkansas. So, yeah. So, all right. So, Amy, Paul told his story. What is your favorite ghost story or haunted paranormal story around the area? Or one
Okay, well,
that you've experienced, or one that
okay.
you know about?
Well, first off, to explain, we keep saying haunted Argenta and haunted North Little Rock. Argenta is one of the first names, or was the name of North Little Rock before it became North Little Rock. So that's how we get the haunted Argenta tour. I actually grew up in North Little Rock. I still live in North Little Rock. I went to North Little Rock High School. And at that time, it was called Old Main. It was on Main Street. And but it had been originally built as North Little Rock High School, and they had changed the name and split it into two rival schools. But now they've since then put it back together. So now it's North Little Rock High School again. But the story that happened there is I was in the drama club and the stagecraft and a choir and a lot of time on their stage. Their stage was original from the 1920s when the high school was built. So I did a lot of musicals and a lot of theater and a lot of stuff on the stage. And we always heard about the ghost of the stage. Now, the ghost of the stage supposedly was this guy named John who went to high school at Old Main High School or North Little Rock High School in the late 40s, early 50s. Now, he had a car and it was some kind of hot rod. And as he came down the hill from Cherry Hill and Park Hill, he wrecked his car and he died. Well, because he was the most popular guy in school, head football player, everybody knew him, everybody loved him, and at that time, even the North Little Rock Funeral Home could not be big enough to hold everyone that wanted to come to his funeral. So it was decided that they were going to have the funeral in the auditorium at the high school and put his casket there on the stage. So they put his casket on the table and they wheeled it out to the stage. And it has been said that that caused him to be the ghost of the high school. Well, a thing that happened even when I was there in the 80s, I graduated in 87. A thing that happened even when I was there is they said about every 3 years, that place on the stage would sink down in the shape of the coffin. And it did. And they had to keep repairing it because if you walk across stage, you'd fall down into the hole. And I saw it with my own eyes, and it did have to be replaced when I was there. And also one night I was on the stage. It was in the nighttime, and we were practicing for a choir performance. And you're standing on the stage, and you look up into the balcony. The balcony is where the big tower is that they no longer use, but that's where the tower doors are right outside the balcony doors. They were all open and about 8 sets of two double doors. Now, everybody's on the stage and everybody's in the school that is on the stage. All 8 doors started opening and closing by themselves very fast. And the guy started screaming, "It's the ghost." So about 4 teenage boys jumped off the stage and ran upstairs as quick as they could to look at this. And then it stopped as soon as they got to the 3rd floor. Now, we all witnessed that together. And also one night during a performance or a performance rehearsal, we're on stage performing, and someone in the green room, which was just a corner of the stage, there was a door back there that had been sealed shut since the 40s. It was another way onto the stage, but it had been sealed shut. So a girl's in the green room, and we're on stage performing, and we hear a scream, and we go back there, and she's screaming out of control, and she says that door just opened, and a guy just walked through it.
Wow.
As she was sitting there in the dark behind stage. So we would come in, and like all the lights would be turned on or flicked around, all the spotlights covers would be moved. I mean, just all kinds of things happened all the time. Now, I will say some of my other students played with Ouija boards back there and everything else to see what they could get going on. But these are things that just became second nature because we were like, oh, that's John. And so John was just a popular guy, and that's where his funeral was. And so he's the ghost of North Little Rock High School.
Anything happen? I mean, with your students and friends that were playing with the Ouija boards?
Nothing happened bad. It was just a lot of, I'm here. Look at me. I'm here.
Okay.
Even on stage, one time, one of the big lights in the auditorium, the light bulbs started busting on their own while there's about 40 people on stage. So these things happen in front of a lot of people.
One of the things that they talk about a lot in the paranormal community is that by bringing up the stories and talking about them, you often activate the spirits, and you often, I don't want to say antagonize, but you kind of bring them. So on these tours, you've done dozens, if not hundreds, of these tours over the last several years. Have you ever had any experiences while on tour? Have you ever had anything odd or weird happen while on tour?
Well, I have. And I always start my tour out saying, look, if you are here to have some guy chase you down the street with a chainsaw with blood coming out of his face, it's not going to happen. That's not what we're here for. We're here for a haunted tour, not a gory tour. So I tell the stories. And so one night I was standing outside of Argent Drug with my group, Their back was towards the drugstore. I could see the front of the drugstore and the windows. And I'm telling the story. And as I'm telling the story of the things that happened there, one of the windows started opening very slowly. Now, I kept thinking, am I really seeing what I'm seeing? And it just kept, there was nothing pushing it. There's not supposed to be anybody even on that floor. And honestly, I didn't even tell my tour because I thought everybody's going to start freaking out. So I didn't really say anything and thought somebody, maybe a homeless guy got up there, something happened. I don't know. So the next night I come, the window's still open. And that time I did decide to tell my tour, hey, this happened last night while I was doing this. And then, of course, the next night we come, still nobody's supposed to be up there. And it was only open about 4 inches and nobody's supposed to be up there, but this time it was shut. So
Well,
it's a very strange thing. And sometimes you've got to kind of read the group. If you say, hey, turn around, look, the window's open, some people will start crying and screaming and run down the street. So I do choose to, especially if there's kids there, that kind of thing. But I do believe the ghosts know we're there on Main Street. I do believe they know what we're doing. And so I'm sure they peek around and look at us a little bit. I do believe there's a whole spiritual world besides ours. And so, do I believe in ghosts? I don't know. But do I believe in spirits? Definitely. And these spirits are watching us. One thing I did happen to me at Reno's is I was contacted because I'm the ghost woman in North Little Rock, and a paranormal group contacted me and said, hey, go ghost hunting with us. I did. And as I was standing there, I didn't see anything really happen. They had all these gadgets, all these lights and everything. And I was just kind of walking around and didn't really feel. And of course, I know Reno's used to be a funeral home, and I knew the history of Reno's, and they kind of did, but not as much. And they took a picture of me, and beside me was a figure or a mass of light bigger than a ball of light. And I have that picture, and now I'm going to show it on the tour. So was a ghost standing right next to me? I don't know. Maybe. I like to think that I have kind of a peaceful feeling with ghosts. If they're around, they know I'm cool with that.
yeah,
So,
right.
so anyway, I don't know. That's what happened.
We'll have to get you to send that picture, and we'll post it on the Haunted Arkansas Tours website or Facebook page, and I'll post it on the Mystery Collection Facebook page. That would be a fun picture to share. So, Paul, what experiences what phenomenon has happened while you've been giving tours?
I've had a fair number of things happen that are unexplainable. At least that's how I'll define it. Definitely unexplainable. The very first Booze and Brews that I did, we end up at a bar called Four Quarter Bar. Great place. Love that place. And it's probably the most well-documented ghost story in Argenta. And if you want to hear that story, you got to come on the tour. That's the best way to hear the story. But bottom line, that place, they say that there's a spirit, that sometimes people see the spirit on the landing or on the stairs. And I took the entire Booze and Brews group in, and they were getting their drinks at the bar. And normally we go upstairs to finish up. And there was a woman standing on the stairs, and it looked like she went flying off the stairs. Not fell, looked like she was shoved. She had to be taken out by EMS on a stretcher, and her whole group saw that one. I had another time upstairs in that same location in Four Quarter. Well, one thing that happens frequently, there's an EMF meter I use, and there's one spot in the middle of the room, not by any electrical, where it triggers, where it goes off. It doesn't go off by any of the electrical outlets, but in the middle of the room, in the same spot, it always goes off.
Well, I'll have EMF readers on the tours this year, so hopefully we can see if that works.
Oh, it will. It's the same spot every time. And then when I was up there, I've had people more than once say that they've seen orbs around me when I'm doing the seance portion. And then another time when I was up there doing that, I have a candle that's burning, and I asked the spirits if they're there, if they can make anything happen. And all of the lights started to flicker and then went out. And as soon as the lights went out, the candle went out, and then the lights came back up. So the first thing I did was looked around the room to find where the light switch was to see who was messing with me.
Right.
I didn't do it. I assumed somebody else did.
Right.
And when I went down to the bar and asked them, where is the light switch? They said there's not one for there is one for upstairs, but it's downstairs. So nobody could have
Nobody's-
seen
yeah.
what was going on. So that's pretty unexplainable. And then another thing that we have is a video, really something fairly unexplainable, where this pot still was on top of the bar. The bar was empty; they weren't open yet, but somebody was working in the back, heard a crash, and went out to the front, and the pot still was at the front edge of the bar in the ice bin. So if something had fallen, it should have fallen straight down, not
Projected across it, right?
Yeah, things don't fall forward. And luckily for us, they've got a video camera across the bar. So they actually caught that on video, and we share that on the Booze and Brews too, so people can actually see that video. So there's all some pretty unexplainable things right there. And there are pictures up on the Haunted Arkansas Tours website of photos people have taken where they've captured things.
Very fun, very fun. Yeah, I've seen the video. It's something. So just a little
Well,
bit.
I also had that same experience in Four Quarters. Four
Okay.
Quarters is definitely haunted and my favorite place. And the lights flickered when I was alone upstairs waiting for Paul one time. So yeah, and I too found the light switch downstairs, and I'm like, "Why y'all messing with the ghost lady?" And they're
Right.
like, "If we were flickering it, they would all went off at once, and they would all come back on at once." Well, there's like 4 sconces, and they were going off one by one by one, and then coming back on one by one by one. So I was like, "Okay." So, yeah, Four Quarters definitely haunted. Definitely.
I think my all of my weird experiences at Four Quarter have probably been caused by Fireball, more so than the paranormal. But I'm assuming the more I hang out there, I will have some. So
Yeah.
Paul, Paul and Amy, both of you, kind of chime in, and you both mentioned that Four Quarter is probably the most haunted building. What's the story with Four Quarter? What's the history of it?
So the history on it, I will tell the story as it's been written down. And that story is that when it originally opened, it was a dirt floor brothel named Miss Birdie's, and it was the most popular brothel in Argenta. And there was a woman in particular named Anastasia, who was the most beautiful of all the prostitutes who worked there. There was a man named Maxwell who would sit next door and watch her, and he was in love with her. And went in one day after 2 men were bragging about their time with Anastasia and told her, "Just stop this. You don't have to be a prostitute. I can take care of you. Marry me. You'll have a whole different lifestyle." And she told him she was not in love with him and to leave her alone. He was interfering with her business, and he pulled out a knife, cut her throat, and threw her off the balcony. So that's the story as it's been written many times. Now, what I don't want to give away is kind of the twist to that whole story and the resolution of it. I think that's one you come on the tour and hear, but this is one people can look up ahead of time if they want, and they'll find that Anastasia story.
Well, and to plug that story a little bit more, I know the story, and I've been working on this for the Brews and Brews tour. I have a relic that we found in Four Quarter that may or may not have belonged to one of the escorts, women of the night there. But we're going to use something there, and we're going to try to contact Anastasia or one of the other women. We're going to try to that's going to be one of the big parts at the end where we do the little mini seance at the end at Four Quarter. That's going to be kind of the swan song of the tour is we're going to try to make communication with one of the women that worked at what would you say the name of the brothel was?
Miss Birdie's.
Miss Birdie's. So we're going to try to contact one of the Miss Birdie's girls. And I'm looking forward to it. It's very, very fun. It's very fun.
And there are video clips out on the Haunted Arkansas Tours page too with the news that have come out, and you can actually see some of Four Quarter and hear a little bit of that as well.
Also, another plug for Four Quarter, probably the best hamburger in the North Little Rock, I think.
Oh yeah.
So we go there often. Between there and Reno's, I think that's pretty much 90% of my booze and food intake in North Little Rock. So Paul, I mentioned that I'm going to be doing a little seance at the end of the Booze and Brews tours, and the Mystery Collection may schedule a couple seances throughout the month. We're still kind of trying to work out the details on that. But one of the things that you're going to be doing through October is a seance at an undisclosed location, a building that is it late 1800s, early 1900s?
Late 1800s.
Late 1800s that Paul has found to do some seance. Talk a little bit about your seance project, what you've got going with the seance.
Sure. So what this is, it's going to be a seance that mirrors those that have been traditionally done by spiritualists. So what we're going to do is there's some scrying involved. There's definitely group work as a whole to kind of prepare for the spirits. And then towards the end of the night, we're going to see if we can get any spirit activity to actually appear. So this is going to be a very limited deal. It is an undisclosed location. It's in downtown Little Rock. I'll give that much away. And when you buy tickets, you'll find out about it. Now, the tickets are not up yet. They will be up shortly. And this is something that's different. It's not ghost stories per se, although there is a haunted history to that house.
And it's going to be very, very limited. I mean, it's not a magic show. It's not a we'll sell as many tickets as we can.
No.
It's going to be a very limited people at the table kind of thing.
Yeah, the plan is to have 12 people plus me at the table, and then there will be a second row of seats behind those for people who want to watch
and not participate.
And
not everybody wants to participate. There are people that,
Right.
that do, but some people just want to sit back and watch.
Right, but those at the table will be direct participants in everything that's happening, and they will help, basically create the circle to see if we can call the spirits. So it's not something that's, you're right. It's not a magic show. It's not a ta-da, look what happened. It's nothing like that. It's something that I want people to come into with a serious attitude and just see what happens. I mean, that's the real fun of it to me, is to see what experiences occur in that room when you have people all of like mind trying to channel.
Right. And like I mentioned, there may be a few mystery collection seances spread out throughout the month. We're still trying to work out some details on that. So stay tuned. And if you're not following the mystery collection on social media, I invite you that we Paul and I've done several shows. I don't know how many shows we've done in the past couple of years together, but most of the stuff that I do and most of the stuff that we do together is broadcast over the mystery collection. We did a week at the Stanley Hotel a couple months ago, and I think we've talked about that quite a bit. Actually, we've never talked about it on the podcast because I just started doing this back up. But we did a week at the Stanley Hotel that was pretty amazing. We should have done a podcast from there, maybe next time. So just a little bit of housekeeping. I'm going to interrupt with a change of topic real quick. I've got a couple other of these lined up. I've got 3 more lined up on Sunday, October 8th. Our friend Paul, my friend Brandon Ringo from Mammoth Caravan is going to come in and do it, and Paul's going to join for that one. Brandon is just a super cool guy. He's very excitable, and he's the lead singer of a band called Mammoth Caravan. We met him at the Mutants of the Monster Fest a couple months ago. He's going to come in and talk all things metal, and probably I think it's going to probably go all over the place. On Sunday, October 29th is a really fun one. Some people have asked for this for a while, and my friend Ryan Roth here from Greeley, Colorado is going to zoom in, and he's going to be the host, and he's going to interview me and talk about, ask me the questions that I've asked everybody for the last couple of years. I do need to get with him and go over a list of things that I do not want him to bring up that he knows about me. So, and then the next one is Sunday, November 5th. Paul's friend and my friend Terry Tyson is going to come on, and I don't think there's probably anybody that we know that is more knowledgeable on seance, on the history, the performance, just the everything, the ins and outs of performing and conducting seances. Terry's going to be a really fun guest. He's I don't know, you know Terry, just
Phenomenal guy. On
So,
top of all that, just
yeah,
really
and
good
a
guy.
super good dude. So I've got a couple other people that have reached out that want to be on, and so again, if you're watching this and you have an idea for a show or you want to come on and talk, it's open to everything. It does lean pretty heavy on the spooky and the ghosts and paranormal, but I've also had my neighbor Scott, who's a professional bodybuilder, on. I've had my friend Rob Walker, who's a comedic writer. So it's just kind of the idea of the show is like, it's called The Conversations for a reason. I have a pretty extraordinary life, and I've met some really amazing people along the way, and my 2 guests today included, that I just like to get on and kind of talk about the stories and kind of hear what they've got going. So,
Well, I have one suggestion, Paul.
please.
You have one suggestion, the guy who's going to interview you, if you said that you would tell us at least a few secrets of your life, you might get a little bit more.
Oh no, trust me, Ryan. I think
Everyone
there's
knows
probably 2 people that know me better than anybody else. One of them's right here, and the other's my friend Ryan Roth. And the stories that I need to tell Ryan not to tell aren't to protect me. They're to protect some other people that I don't think want some things, that don't want some things aired, and yeah, so no, it'll be a lot of fun. Ryan is a dear friend. I don't think he's ever been on this. I think he's maybe called in once or sent some messages, but Ryan is a dear friend, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. So yeah, it'll be a fun one. I'm excited and nervous about it. Couple other little housekeeping things real quick. No cussing, Sally Goebel. You're welcome. We are not cussing on this one. I got a little spanking last night from my friends Kirk and Sally Goebel. Sally says she loves me, but I cuss too much, so there's no cussing on this one, just for Sally. Also,
Oh, Sally.
the Rockies watch. I talked about this on the last one with G and Chris. The Rockies are now 56 and 98 on the race to lose 100 games, which we're all rooting for them to lose 100 games. There are 8 games left to get to 162, so they have to finish the season 7-1 to avoid 100 loss. So we are really rooting for them to lose 100. Amy, I don't know if you follow sports, but the Rockies have been a real pain in our ass for a long time. It sucks. We just want baseball to be better in Colorado, and our ownership is making tons of money, so they don't. Oh, I almost cussed. They don't care about about the product that they put on the field. They just care about making money, and so we're all rooting for the first 100 loss season in Colorado Rocky history, and we got to lose 2 more to get there. So go Rockies.
Hey,
Go Rockies. So outside of ghosts and outside of history, I'm hoping, Amy, you have other interests outside of ghosts and outside of history. I'm assuming you do. What are some of the things that we wouldn't know about Amy Jones from the ghost tours and the? I mean, what are your books? What are your movies? What are your other passions?
I read a lot. I run an online bookstore with used books. I do love books of all kinds.
Go ahead and plug it. What is it? What is it called? Plug it.
Oh, it's an Amazon used bookstore, but it's called Book Mountain Emporium. You can look it up. It does have a little website, but I do sell them through Amazon. It's just one of those little businesses I've started. I do have a little business to manage Airbnbs, and I do that on the side too. I'm about to study to get my real estate license because I've been brokering some deals with some people that would help me if I had an Arkansas real estate license. So I'm doing that. I love to work all the time. I don't have a lot of outside hobbies. And even when I'm not giving tours, I'm talking history all the time. So it's a little bit, yeah, you kind of got to like history if you hang around me. And if you hang around me in North Little Rock or Little Rock, you can't walk downtown with me without me saying, oh, that used to be Judge Scott's house, or oh, that's where the first territorial Congress was held, or oh, that's the oldest building in Little Rock. Not everybody cares, okay? And so I have learned that I should broaden my conversation, but yeah, I don't. So I'm working on it. I don't have much of a social life because I do work a lot, but if I ever meet a man who wants to listen to me talk about history, well, then that might be the one.
Now,
but
I got to tell you, we all went out just a couple weeks ago, and there was a man that expressed some interest, if I remember correctly. So
I have been divorced for almost 15 years. I was married for 20 years. I have 2 grown kids, and I really don't date and haven't dated in years and years just because I'm busy.
Yeah.
And who needs that nonsense? And so one of these days, if I slow down, then I might be able to do that. And like I said, you got to find a man that likes history, and you guys are a rare breed. So believe me, history is not just, oh yeah, I know that. No, you got to really know it. You got to want to hear all about it all the time.
Right.
So anyway, but
right.
My living room has got 6 bookshelves and no television.
There you go. Nice.
Kind of that's me. Yeah.
What's your favorite book? What is or one of your favorite books? I'm a book guy as well, and I always ask what people's favorite books. My favorite books, I'll give you kind of an idea. I love a book called Boy's Life, and if you've seen the Mystery Collection show, you know about the Boy's Life. I read from it every show. Confederacy of Dunces, I think, is one of the greatest things, one of the greatest pieces of fiction ever written.
You gave me the Boy's Life, and I read it, and it was good.
Yeah, it's
I like that. It was a very good book. I would say my reading for fun is not that deep. I do love the Outlander 9 books, and I read them over and over and over again, and they're about 400 pages apiece. So that's kind of turn my brain off and read books if I can grab them. But I have books all over my house, and even as I feed my dog, I sit in there while he eats, and I have a book on my table that I read a chapter or two just sitting there. So I do have like book stops all through my business, and in my office at home I have book stops. But I have been given some books from a Little Rock lawyer who were his personal diaries from 1929 to 1969. and he wrote in them. And if you read part of the diaries, you see that he had a Model T. You see that his kids went to Central High. He lived in the Heights. And he even writes about Pearl Harbor. He writes about taking the train and taking the trolley. And the family just donated these books to me about several years ago. And he was a real estate lawyer. He did argue in front of the state legislature on several things. So that's my retirement project, is I'm going to really dig into that man's life and write a book, maybe.
Very cool. Very, very fun. Very fun.
That's me. But
I had
like I said, y'all are so much entertainers. I'm not.
I had a woman make fun of me the other day not the other day, a while ago, about rereading books. She didn't understand why I would reread a book. And the first thing that came to mind is, you know what? I ate a burrito once and I really liked it. So yeah. I continue to eat burritos. You know, yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where I enjoy rereading books. I enjoy rewatching movies. You know, if it was. I also tell some terrible jokes, and I live under the impression if it was funny the first time, it's funny the 50th. And but books like Confederacy of Dunces, if it's good the first time, that's a book that is always good. So Paul, I know what you do on the fun for fun, but a lot of other folks don't. So talk a little bit about, you've had a big last week in one of your I don't want to say it's a hobby because it's turning into a real thing. One of your side projects. Talk a little bit about what's going on in the world of Paul Prater.
Sure. So the brief backstory on that is I started playing drums when I was a teenager. Played my first shows when I was a teenager. And during COVID, being stuck at home, I decided I wanted to get back into music again, and ended up buying an electric drum set so that I didn't annoy the entire house with an acoustic one, and started taking bass lessons and guitar lessons. And, I knew a little bit about those instruments already, obviously. I played in bands, so fairly familiar with them, but really started working on being better and started writing music. And I released some of it and got a call about booking my band for a show, and I didn't have a band. So I put a band together, and then this past week was our first show. So real excited about that. We already have a second one booked that's coming up in November at Vino's if people are around in Little Rock. The band's name's Dire Wolf. We are on Spotify and Apple Music and everything else if you want to give it a listen, or follow on Instagram or Facebook, because we post pretty obnoxiously about shows in particular. So we also have really cool merch. I'll throw that out there too. We got some cool looking t-shirts, and I even have one that's a one of a kind, only one available, and Paul's got it.
Yeah. We're running out of ink, so we mixed inks, and it's very colorful, and it turned out to be great. So
tell us what type of genre music it is, Paul.
Oh yeah, so I would say it's stoner metal esque, hard rock, however you want to look at it. It kind of varies a little bit. It's definitely on the heavier side, but we're also not deathcore or growling or that kind of stuff. So hard rock, heavy metal, kind of an old school flavor to it. It's
kind of got and I apologize if I'm wrong on this. It's kind of got a Sabbath kind of vibe to it. I think that maybe some of that early kind of doom kind of metal, not to classify as doom, but it's definitely heavier stuff. Check it out. I like it a lot. On one song, he's got a special guest appearance by probably the world's worst guitar player. I played probably 3 notes on it, and they just looped it through and made me sound like a rock star. So yeah, it's very fun. It's very fun. So,
well, and Paul's being modest. He has drum sets in his living room. That's what he has in his living room. A drum set.
Right. And books. I mean, Paul's got a book
Lots
collection.
Of books.
Yes. Books, guitars, basses, amps, drum sets. Yeah.
And lots of Odysseys. Tell them about your Odyssey collection.
Yes.
I've got a couple of shrunken heads. I've got a mummified possum that I actually found at like an antique show. What else do I have? Fiji mermaid.
That's roadkill.
This they found. I actually asked what the background was, and they had found it under a house in somewhere like Utah where it was very dry, so it naturally mummified. And then they had this old antique box that they hung it in. So it's
now. Let me tell you, when I was in Peru, I found out this thing about they were mummified llama like fetuses. And you could buy these at the witch market and this was in Bolivia. This was in La Paz, Bolivia. You could buy these, and that they would bury these under new construction, and it would bring fortune and good luck. Different animals meant different things, and you would bury them under the steps into the house where the steps were going to be. Mm-hmm. And so I know in New Orleans that they found when they're doing construction and they're finding a lot of mummified animals that were not indigenous to the area that people would bring in for their, for a blessing or for, some sort of ritual for their house. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, well, if anybody's got any
Little
questions,
dolls too. Little
Yeah.
dolls they would bury, and little shoes. You could put you put your shoes in the foundation, and that means everybody in the house always has good health.
years ago, I had made an arrangement with a haunted hotel up in the mountains of Colorado to do some shows there. It ended badly for whatever reasons, but it didn't work out. But I got to do some exploring of the construction they were doing on it, and we found a doll in the wall. Behind planks in the wall, and so that is now in the basement in my collection. That doll, and I had a little box built out of it, or for it, out of some of the wood that we took out of the construction. It's and it is probably one of the creepier things. My kids told me some stories about it. I don't know if I believe it or not. She lives in the basement. They live in the basement, and I don't know if the stories they've reported are true, but I've heard some stories about that doll in my basement. So,
And there's something in the walls in your basement too.
oh yes, there are. Yeah, that's. I don't know if I've told this story out here. Several years ago, I had a terrible flood in my basement, and it was pretty rough. And it was on my birthday, and I ended up trying to stop it. Ended up cutting my hand in half and having to have my hand put back together. But anyway, when we were redoing the basement, we had to redo a bunch of drywall. So before we did the drywall, I got 4 little poppet dolls. I don't know if anybody's familiar with poppet dolls. They're American voodoo, I guess, or witchcraft. They're white little dolls. And I found some old memento mori photographs of dead children and got little wooden crosses. And I put 4 photographs in the wall with the little poppet dolls with the little wooden crosses, and then we sealed the wall in. So someday, it's my gift to the future of my house that someday they're gonna, or may never happen, but somebody's gonna tear the wall down in my house and find these dolls and be like, "What is going on here? What is?" My kid and I also painted a big red pentagram before they laid the carpet. A huge pentagram. I mean, the size of it's probably 15 feet by 15 feet on the basement floor in red spray paint. We painted this huge red pentagram before they laid the carpet over. So hopes that, I'm hoping to sell my house in the next year. So the next owners, if they don't like the carpet, they're going to pull it up and find this huge red spray painted pentagram under the carpet. We also wrote some messages in the closet. I think my kid wrote something like, "I know what you did." And then we laid the carpet over it. So, it's a gift to the future owners of this house. I wish them well.
Those would be fun to find.
Yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited to find them. So
For us, but maybe not for the rest of.
Well, and I just, I'll probably never know. I'll probably never know. A good friend of mine, Kendall, is a realtor here in town, and I've asked him about if he's ever sold, and he has a story where and I should have him come on and tell the story sometime. A customer called him that bought a house and said, "Hey, listen, would you ask the sellers if anything ever weird happened in this house?" And Kendall's like, "Listen, I sold the house. I'm not gonna ask him." And he's like, "Yeah, I'll do it." He passes it on and kind of blows it off. A couple weeks later, they call back and they said, "Okay, now listen, did anything happen? Because we're having like dishes fall off the counter, and we're having things move and disappear, and it's just we hear voices, and it's just the two of us. We hear people walking on the floor. Would you call?" So Kendall's like, "All right, I'll call." So he called. He said, "Hey, this is going to be a silly question, but anything weird?" And the woman's like, "Oh no, that house is totally haunted." So yeah, it's just, like I said, it's my gift. My kid and I had a lot of fun laughing about it, and I tell the story, and and one of the things we realize is that the carpet with the pad, it may rub the paint off, so it may not be there, but I'm hoping remnants of it still will be. So. But we're coming up on an hour. If anybody is out there that's watching, we've got a few people watching. If anybody has any questions for Paul or Amy, please let us know. And again, this will be on YouTube by the end of the day, and then all of your podcast platforms hopefully by today or tomorrow. Paul and I are going to see Sleep Token tomorrow night, the band Sleep Token down in Denver, and then Tuesday morning we get up and we drive to Arkansas to start a pretty amazing month, and I'm really excited, and I can't thank Paul and Amy enough for letting me be a part of this. It's going to be very fun. I've fallen in love with North Little Rock, and I've spent a lot. I've got a place there, and I've spent a lot of time, and I don't know if it's going to be where I end up, but I'm having a good time while I'm there, And these two have been very welcoming and very fun. I've fallen into a.
Well, we're gonna have a good time. Whatever happens, we're gonna have a good
Right,
time.
right,
We're
right,
fun
right,
people,
right. And if it turns out just the three of us sitting at Reno's doing fireball shots over and over again,
Exactly.
we'll find. So, well, we're close to about an hour. So I don't know, Paul. Do you have any other things you want to plug? I know you've got the Direwolf show coming up, and check out Direwolf on all your social media.
Yep. No, I don't have anything I want to plug. I do want to encourage people, though, to reiterate, if you want to come on the tours,
Get your tickets.
Yeah, the longer you wait, the closer they get to sold out. Right now, they're selling. There are plenty available, but they're selling, and they haven't even started yet. So it is time to go ahead and start making those Halloween plans.
Yeah, this morning, Paul and I were talking about it. We were looking at the ticket sales, and he said a lot of tickets are last minute sales. Well, if you're waiting for last minute sales, there's not going to be tickets, and you're going to be and
Right.
there's not going to be tickets
Because sometimes, usually by day of, they're sold out. I mean, and often before then, but usually by day of, and often it can be that morning. And I know a lot of people want to wait and figure out their dinner plans, and it's generally too late then. And I get those calls all the time. Can you fit some more in?
Right. And so, Amy, again, your tours are what nights?
Well, I think we have them scheduled Monday through Saturday.
Okay. And they're
Sometimes,
limited at 25. They're locked at 25
They're
participants.
limited at 25.
20,
They're rain or
actually.
shine.
20. I just
20.
said 20.
I'm sorry,
Yep.
20.
Yeah.
Well,
We'll sometimes
maybe I've done
accommodate.
25.
Yeah, you have done 25. We'll accommodate a few more sometimes, but yeah.
And those are
people wander up.
7:30 to 9 o'clock. Is that right?
7
7 to 8:30.
7.
Yeah, yours are 7:30. The Booze and Brews
Yes.
start at 7:30. That
Yeah.
way we stagger, because we start at the same place, so we stagger our starting groups.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's 7 to 8:30, and the standard walking tour is an hour and a half. The Booze and Brews is 2
2 hours, and that's
Yeah.
going to be that's limited to only Wednesdays and Thursdays,
right.
and that's from 8 to 10.
7:30.
7:30 to 9:30.
9:30.
Sorry, yep.
Right.
And that's limited as well. I think that's even more limited than the.
Yeah, well, we've got 20 on that
20 on
as
that,
well, and that, because we go into some of the bars, it's harder to accommodate more people
Right,
on those.
right.
And keep in mind, since those are just Wednesday and Thursday, you really only have about 8 dates. to
Right,
see it.
right.
So people think it's all month long, but in reality, it's like there may be 10, maybe,
Right.
but that's 8 or 10. That's it.
So yeah,
But it is rain and shine. I mean, don't buy
Yes.
your tickets and then see a big storm come, because it will rain in October and it will lightning and thunder. So rain or shine, I'm going to be standing there looking for y'all.
Yeah.
So come on down and take a walk with me, and we're going to learn something and have a good time. But sometimes it's better when it's a little creepy or it's just rained or something like that.
there's plenty of covering in Argenta. There's plenty of
Yeah.
covering. We'll move from cover to cover. But if it looks like it's going to be raining, bring an umbrella. I'll have one. Amy will have one. So.
And also on Halloween night, we do, we will offer 2 tours, an early one and a late one. If that's something that's interested, if anybody's interested, we do sell those out quite quickly too on Halloween night. Now, Halloween night is Tuesday this year, really strange night of the week to have Halloween. But, come on out, and we will, maybe you need to take the day off tomorrow or something.
Right.
And now North Little Rock has passed an ordinance where you can have open containers as you walk. So that happened as of last year. So if you go to a bar and you're drinking, you have your drink, or you went to dinner and you have something, you can carry it on the tour. That's fine. I will say that if I have a bunch of kids, sometimes we PG the tour. If we have no kids at all, then you may hear a little bit not PG tours. So, because like I said, the truth is kind of lots of brothels, lots of sin.
Right. Well, and I think I've talked to both of you about this. Years ago, I did the Underground Seattle tour. I don't know if you're familiar with the Underground Seattle tour.
No,
and they offer
cool.
one for families, but then they also offer the cocktail version. What you'll be getting on the Booze and Brews is definitely the cocktail version of the show. And Sally Goebel will not be on the tour because there probably will be some cussing or some questionable material. I'm going to try my hardest to keep my I don't know. I've talked about this on the show a bunch. Cussing is lazy and it's stupid, but it just feels good. It's fun. It's my kid, my Ren, my kiddo used to call it spicy words, and she's like, I don't like spicy words. I'm like, well, All right, the kids, they're my kids, so they spicy words is what
You're
it
doing
is.
a great
So,
job.
well,
I would
it
say.
hasn't been very hard.
Amazing.
Usually, and Amy, I don't know if you've gone back and watched some of these. This started in 2020. This little podcast, the collection or the conversation started in 2020, and it started as just a Sunday afternoon reason for me and my buddies to get online and just get drunk, just get stupid drunk. And if you go back and watch some of the ones on YouTube, you see how drunk we get. I did one that we got really, and it was with these two women that run it was called Booze and Bourbon, BOOS and Bourbon, and they have this podcast out of Canada. And I shipped them a box of bourbon and whiskey from a distiller here in town, and we got so drunk, and we all started just running our mouths on everybody we could think of, enough to where somebody reported us and Facebook took down the video.
Oh gosh.
So I wish I didn't save it. I wasn't as high tech as I am today with the nice setup. It was just all on Facebook Live via Zoom, and I didn't save it, so I have no recording of it. It's gone. But this is something that has turned into something. And I thanked them last week. My friends G and Chris, GFY Productions here in Greeley, Colorado, have helped me with the production value on this. They've made it to where, like I said, I've got this exact same setup in my apartment in Arkansas, and so all I have to do is unplug my computer, plug it in Arkansas, and I've got the same setup. So I'm looking forward to doing these more often. I'm going to do a bunch, and we talked about this before we went live. We're going to do another one of these in a couple weeks and kind of tell some more stories of the tour after we've got a few weeks of tours under our belt. And we're just going to do a bunch of pop-ups. There's going to be a bunch of nights that we're just hanging out, and I decide, all right, let's get on and go and just kind of run our mouths a little bit. I do want to plug one thing real quick, and there's going to be a couple more coming out soon, but I did just get my, as everybody who follows the Mystery Collection knows, I'm a nerd for t-shirts. I've got some of the funnest t-shirts. The one that my friend Calvin Von Crush designed was a huge success. And I'm not going to list them on the website. I'm just going to kind of take them around and talk about them. And they're going to be real limited. This one, I think I only have 24, 23 now because I gave Paul one. But this is my new shirt.
Oh, that's nice. That's very nice.
Yeah, it's a death metal logo that's inspired by the band Mayhem. I'm going to join the Innovation Hub when I get to Little Rock next week, and Paul's shirts we printed. I mean, here's one he printed.
Yeah.
And the Innovation Hub, I'll give them a little plug. They have a whole I don't know what you call it, studio, a shop where you do screen printing, and so we're going to make some. I've got a secret project that I've kind of hinted on online that Paul and my friend Zeke Powers we're kind of spearheading, called the Seance Society. And we're going to do some Seance Society shirts and some other shirts, but I'm a nerd for t-shirts. So I'll have those. If anybody wants one of the death metal logos, I got stickers as well. So reach out. And I don't want to list all the stuff on the website. I don't do very much business on the website, but I like to see my shirts around. So any parting words, Amy? Anything that you've got coming up or that you want to plug?
No, I just I know that in years past we have started the last week in September, and this time we're not starting till the 1st of October, and it's simply because it is hot out there, and so be mindful of that when you come on a tour. Don't bring a bunch of coats and stuff. You're going to be walking. If it's even, don't get overheated. I will be in costume if it's not too hot. We don't want anybody falling out in the middle of the street. So just be mindful of that. And I think it's going to be cooler this year as far as weather. And I'm hoping that we will be able to be in costume. And like I say, just come take a walk with me and have a good time. We're going to have a good time. We will talk about the ghosts, but you'll learn a lot about Arkansas and Little Rock and North Little Rock history also. I do a bit where I talk about the Spanish flu in Arkansas from 1919, because we were the most deaths in the United States was in North Little Rock. So we talk about that a little bit. So.
Well, I don't want to discourage people by making you think it's a long walk. It's about three city blocks, maybe 4 city blocks.
Yeah, that's about it. I mean, the longest walk is at the start where you're covering basically one city block, and then after that we go about 3 blocks further down.
Yeah, and there's plenty of stops, so don't think it's not a hike. But if it is hot, it is a walk. I mean, you are going to be walking. So. All right, Paul. Anything else? You got your show coming up on the 7th, 8th.
Yep, November 8th.
November 8th.
Yeah, that's
so.
for the Dire Wolf.
Where is that going to be at?
Vino's. At Vino's.
Vino's.
Yeah.
Oh,
Place I
nice.
played my first show when I was like 14. So it's full circle going back there again. Although I've performed there in between. So just
Very
not music
cool.
shows.
Well, and another little fun project that I can't, I don't want to talk too much about because I don't want to jinx it, but hopefully by the 8th, when Brandon Ringo's on, Paul and our friend Marcus Fisher and I have a fun announcement maybe coming up soon. We've got a little project that we're keeping in our pocket right now that will be, I think, big for the three of us, big for Little Rock, big for a lot of people. So I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but I think this is we've been working on this. I don't know. Paul and I've been talking about this for years, doing something like this for years, and we and this may be the most promising lead we've had thus far. So I don't want to jinx it, but maybe by the 8th we'll have. I think Brandon will jump out of his skin if we say something with Brandon on the show. So we'll keep it till then. But Amy, thank you so much for joining in. Don't log off. I'm going to go. I'll disconnect and we'll chat a little bit afterwards. But again, check us out on October 8th, Sunday, October 8th. I think Paul's going to come in and talk to Brandon as well. It'll be the first show that I've done from the little setup I have in Arkansas. Check out Mammoth Caravan on all the music platforms and YouTube. And we're talking about with Brandon. And then Sunday, October 29th, will be my friend Ryan Roth interviewing me. If you have any questions, I need to put this up. Look up Ryan Roth on Facebook. And if you have any questions for me ahead of time that you don't want me to know that who's asking, contact Ryan Roth. That's a fun thing. I'd have Ryan. I'll put Ryan's contact information as we come up. Contact Ryan and ask.
That could be fun.
Yeah, because most people don't. If you don't want to send them through the mystery collection because you don't want. I don't know what I'm doing. We'll see. And then Sunday, November 5th, Terry Tyson. I've got my friend Dan Mothershed, who's an amazing actor, an amazing writer. He wants to come on, and we're going to work that out. I've got my friend Aaron Williams from Wisconsin has a band called Thunder Goat. I met he and his wife, I don't know, years ago, and they're dear friends. They've come out to a couple shows I've done in Wisconsin. They've got a band called Thunder Goat. I want to have him on. I've had a couple other people reach out that want to be on the show. Well, we'll figure it out. So if you have any ideas or any topics you want me to explore, I'd really like to have, I've got a wish list of people I'd like to have on. I'd like to have a sex worker on. I'd like to have an escort on, obviously, and keep identity, quiet or anonymous. But I think there's a lot of questions that people have for that. I'd like to have a homicide detective or a bounty hunter or something, one of those stories. Because I think that there's so many people out there that have such amazing stories that just, I want an opportunity to hear them. I want an opportunity. So if anybody has any topics or ideas, let me know. Amy, thanks so much for zooming in, and Paul, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
I think you're tied. I think you're tied with Soydon now. We'll have Soydon do the math on it, but I think now it's a contest. So, all right. Well, Amy, like I said, stick around, and everybody again. Okay. This will be on YouTube here by the end of the day, and all your podcast formats. So, all right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.